Okay. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the day one of our masterclass, and this is season 4. And if you've not been part of us from season 1, we have the previous seasons on YouTube. So I will link them in the description so that you can check them out as well. So in this season 4, we are going to do lots of advanced designs, and then I'm going to show you how to do basic multiplication and division, addition, and things like that when you're trying to set up your aspect ratio. So what we are going to start with is what they call a seamless carousel design. So you know those designs on Instagram that looks like it doesn't end when you are swiping. So okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the day one of our masterclass, and this is season 4. And if you've not been part of us from season 1, we have the previous seasons on YouTube. So I will link them in the description so that you can check them out as well. So in this season 4, we are going to do lots of advanced designs, and then I'm going to show you how to do basic multiplication and division, addition, and things like that when you're trying to set up your aspect ratio. So what we are going to start with is what they call a seamless carousel design. So you know those designs on Instagram that looks like it doesn't end when you are swiping. So we're going to create something like that, and I'm also going to show you how to export them, and I'm going to show you how to export them in the easiest way possible. So this took me a long time to learn, but you can learn it in less than an hour. So let's get started. Now all you have to do is make sure your Photoshop is open, and then you click on new file. We are going to use an aspect ratio of 1080 for the width and 1350 for the height. And now the trick here is, let's say we are working with 5 carousels. We are going to multiply the width by 5. So let's impute the basic layout. So we are going to put 1080 for the width, and the height is going to have 1350. So that's the new Instagram dimension. So this is where the trick is. We want to have 5 of these carousels. So we are going to multiply the width by 5. And to do that multiplication, you just add asterisks, which should be on your number 8 key. So you hold shift on your keyboard and click on number 8. It's going to add the asterisks, and then you add 5. So once you, let's say you click somewhere else, it's going to do the multiplication for you, which gives you 5400 for the width, and height is 1350. So I think that's just everything we have to do. I'll uncheck artboards because we do not need artboards. The next thing you're going to do is click on create, and you should have it open in Photoshop. Now, how do we know where one artboard transitions into the other? All we have to do is separate them with guides. So that is what they call guides. So I have my ruler set up. If you don't have your rulers, you can just click on Ctrl R on your keyboard, you have them. So we are going to set some rulers that will guide us to know where each page of the carousel is. So we are not going to do it manually. So I'll show you how to do it in the easiest way possible. So all you have to do is go to view, and then you go to guides, and we are going to set new guide layout. Now here is where we do all the magic. I'm going to turn off margin, and then we'll set the columns to 5. So that's where we have our 5 carousels. And then I'll turn off the rules. We do not need the rules for now. So that's all you have to do. And then you click on OK. So with your guides set up, you now know where one page transitions into the other. So we are just going to keep this simple because I don't want us to go into trying to design a lot of things, because the idea here is to have a seamless carousel. All right, so I generated a simple copy with ChatGPT. So we're just going to work with this. Now this is page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. So all we have to do is copy the text. So you can use your ChatGPT or any AI tool you use to create your own captions. So I'm just going to lay out my text. So all I have to do is copy and paste. So you can change your font. I'm going to use Mansfield. You can use any font of your choice. So I would set this to bold. Now let's add a simple background. I have my brand colors set up in the swatches. So all I have to do is come down here to the adjustments and create a solid color. Then once that is created, all I have to do is pick the colors I have added to the swatches. But if you don't have that, it's not a problem. You can select any color you would like to use. So I would use this black, and then I'll create another layer where I would use the brush tool to add another color just to make the background interesting. So I'm going to use the brush tool. Now I created a new empty layer. If you want to do that, you can see this plus icon at the bottom. So you just click on it and you add a new empty layer. Now I've selected the brush tool, and all I have to do is come here and select the colors I want to use because I have saved them in the swatches. But if you don't have that, of course there are default swatch colors, so you have the RGB and all these ones, but you can also add yours. I'll show you how to add yours in tomorrow's class. So if you don't want to use any of the colors here, you can just double click on your foreground color and then you can pick any color you want. So but I am going to use this. Now I will set the hardness to 0. So you just right click to bring out your brush options, and then I'll make sure the hardness is 0, and then all I have to do is just click on a few places. So this is just a basic layout. We'll go into more complex ones before we round up with this season. Okay, now we come to adjusting our text. So you click Ctrl T on your keyboard, and then that initiates the transform controls, so you can scale down your text. We'll get to adding images shortly. So you can zoom in and then try to adjust your text. So I'm going to use white for this, not yellow. So I already have that up here. So you just select your colors. So now I know that I am not actually explaining things from a beginner's or for the beginners. Well, that's why I said if you want to understand the basics, you have to go to the season 1. So that will be linked in the description. But if this is too fast, you can pause this and continue with season. You can start from season 1, and then when you understand the basics, you can come back to this, because after this live session the video will still be available on YouTube, so you can watch it whenever you want. Okay, so I have adjusted my text. I am not going to do some detailed text hierarchy for today. So all I want to show you is how to make your carousel seamless. So I'm just trying to do a basic setup here. And okay, let's get some PNG images. So I would go to PNG egg. So you go to this website, PNG egg, you can get lots of PNG images. So I would search for a robot because we are talking about AI, and I want to, oh, this is cool. So I think I'm going to use something like this. Yeah. So now there is what they call visual hook. So when you're selecting an image for a design, first it has to match the message you're trying to pass, and then it should be able to capture someone's attention. Now we are talking about AI and designers, and this looks like another good image because this is like a robot with a laptop. All right, so you're already seeing some very good images. Okay, so we'll start with downloading this one. So all you have to do is just click on download, then you have to solve whatever this is, and then of course you have to click the numbers in this order. So you start with Z, W, G, and T. So the numbers are usually random. So you follow what it shows on your own device. Okay, so I'm going to just save this to my downloads for an object with a similar name. So I'm just going to rename this to robot and globe. Okay, so now this is also another image that matches the idea we are trying to create. So this is like AI versus the designer, something like that. Okay, so let's import the image we just downloaded. Okay, so remember, this is just a basic layout setup. So from tomorrow, we'll go into the detailed layout. So you can now look at this line here. So this is one of the guides we set up. I am overlapping it to sell the idea of a seamless carousel so that when someone swipes, it's as though there is no cut in between. So that functions very well on Instagram. And I think TikTok also does that now. Okay, so it's overlapping. When we export each frame, you would see the difference. So make sure you have a good text hierarchy. So I'm going to adjust this. Now, okay, let's just give this a different color. So I'll highlight this and give it this green color. So it says AI won't replace creatives. Creatives using AI will. So that sounds like a good caption. All right, so I'm just going to copy this to this other side, and then I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard, and I'm just going to drag it here. And then I'll copy the next line of text. So the next one is the game changed. Speed now matters as much as skill. So the same thing, we come here and paste our text. It says the game has changed. Now, I just feel like I have to do a little text hierarchy here because my brain wouldn't allow me leave it like this. So I am going to make this bigger. Then this is going to be like a title text. So the other one is going to follow like a subtext. So I'm duplicating this because this is the exact size I want. So you might have to do lots of duplicating. So I would increase this so we can say the game changed. And then the next line is going to be this one. So I'm just going to paste my text here. And then I'm going to change the font weight. So the font weight is what you refer to as the bold, regular, light. They are all called font weight. So I'm going to set this to regular and I am going to reduce it a little bit. So I'm going to set the font size to 14. Okay, so this just gives it a better hierarchy compared to this one. Okay, so now I feel we have to now adjust this one because we've done it in the other one. So I'm just going to cut this out. And then, so now, because this is the title page, if you are making this for a client, you have to make sure that the first page captures as much attention as possible because that's what is going to keep the viewer. So I'm just going to replace this and okay, the color is also white. So I'm going to use a title case. A title case is where you have each first letter of every word as a capital letter. So it's called a title case. So I want to make this bigger. It might be bigger than the other one we have. Okay, so I think the line spacing for this one is too much. So you can come here. Now, this is my properties panel. I kept it in this position, so you might see yours on the right side. And if you don't see it, you just go to window, look for it, and look at it here. You turn it on. So we are making all these corrections from the properties panel. So I'm going to set the line spacing to 16 just to see what works. So 16 is too narrow. So we'll try 18. So I think we might have to go for 24. Okay, 24 is balanced. Okay, so this is just basic text hierarchy. All right. Okay, so we have that. Now let's add the next image. That means we have to download something. Okay, we've downloaded this one. So I think this is the next. Oh, okay, this also works. This also works for what we need it for. But this image has a white patch, so it might make our design look off. So I don't want us to use that one. Okay, so I think this might work very well. So this is just like having robots replace designers. So it really communicates the idea very well. Okay, so I can just save that. And then, okay, let's get this one as well. Okay, so let's add this one. So we'll overlap another image here just to sell the same idea. Okay, so we'll have this. Okay, I'll add a shape here because this is supposed to be a tabletop. Let's create something that would function as a table. So you can select the pen tool. You can also use the rectangle tool. But what is really going to sell this table we are trying to create is the difference in color. So you just use your pen tool to draw a shape like this, and then make sure it's under this layer. Now we are going to make it a bit dark. So you double click the thumbnail and then just maybe something like this should work. Now to simulate the other side of the table, we would repeat the same action, but on a new layer. So you create a new layer, but it has to be under this one that we created before. So with the same pen tool, you can just draw the other side. So all you have to do is change the color. All you have to do is change the color and make it darker. So once it's slightly darker than the first one, you would have the effect you're trying to get. So by just making it dark, you can now see that we have created a simple table. So this is the table we just made. Now, remember, this is just a simple layout. We are not going into the complicated stuff yet because, of course, this is day one. I would go into more advanced stuff from tomorrow. Okay, so we are going to copy this. This is for page 3. And then, okay, I'll duplicate this text and have it here. So let's paste our new text. So it says design faster, edit smarter, create beyond limits. Now, there is what they call the principle of emphasis. All right. That's what they call the principle of emphasis. So you take your text tool. We want to emphasize faster. So we are going to change the font weight for the words we are emphasizing. So we'll select faster and we'll make it bold. And then we'll also change the color. I'm using my brand colors now. You can use your own colors. So then the next line we are focusing on smarter. So you select smarter and then change the font weight to bold, and then we change the color as well. So for this one we are focusing on beyond limits. So we change the font weight and change the color as well. So we have design faster, edit smarter, create beyond limits. That's cool. So for this other transition, I want us to use a simple rounded rectangle. So you can have something like this. So we'll just keep space for where the next caption is going to be. So we have this. I'm just going to make this edge rounded. Okay, so I'm going to add the next image. We've downloaded something like this. Okay, but let's check what our next caption says, because I feel that this would make more sense in the last slide. So, okay, the people winning today learned how to work with AI. So we are going to keep this for the last page. So I'm going to select both layers, this and that should be this. So I'm going to Control T and then move them to this side. All right, so I think this should work here. Now for this one, let's get an image we would use. Okay, let's go back to here. Okay, now I want to add the image of a real person because it talks about the people winning. Okay, so we can just search for group of people because it talks about people. So let's get a group of people. Okay. So basically you search for, oh, I think this works. This works for what we need it for. So it's just a group of people looking into a laptop. And then we're talking about design. And that's what we're going to use. So all I have to do is import it. So you can see very well. So okay. I think this is a good position. But we have to make up for this part. Now let's try increasing the size of this image to see if it would work. So I'll select all of them. So we made 2 layers for the table and 1 layer for this image. Let's try to overlap this. Okay, which means we have to take it higher. Okay, so I think we successfully solved that problem. The next text, so I would copy this and then paste the new text. Okay, so it says the people winning today, they learned how to work with, they learned how, okay, I'll cut it from here. They learned how to work with AI. You can give this a little hierarchy. So this is a question. The people winning today, I'm going to change the font weight to bold and then give it another call. People winning today, they learned how to work with AI. Now, what does the last slide say? Adapt early or get left behind. That's a simple but powerful advice. So I want to flip this. I'm going to right click. Okay, Control T first. Then right click and then flip horizontal. Once you've done that, I want to make this bigger so it somehow pops out. So this is like a levitating robot. And then we can adjust this shape to come from somewhere like this. Okay. Now, the last text. So we'll copy this and replace it. We have adapt early or get left behind. Okay, let's make this slightly bigger. So just to emphasize it a little more, we're going to make this like 18. Okay. So if you have a logo for whatever you're trying to create, you can add your logos. We can also add a little swipe button to let the reader know that, okay, you can swipe. So you just create a rectangle. If you let this be the topmost layer, then I like giving it this rounded edge so it actually feels like a button. If you should know what a button is. So this is, you've seen this on your phone, things like this severally. So it's usually called a button. So I'm just going to add a swipe text. So I'm going to repeat this for every page. So it lets the viewer know that there is something more to look at. If you, it's not compulsory, but you can add it if you want to. Okay, I'm going to group this now and scale it down a little more so it's not the obvious element. Okay, time to duplicate. I just want to make sure they are properly aligned with each other. So I selected both layers and I'm going to click this center alignment. So it adjusted. That shows you it wasn't properly aligned. All we have to do, you can rename this layer. So let's give it, you double click on the name and you type out the name you want to give it. And then all you have to do is duplicate for how many times you need it. So I'm just going to do Ctrl J on the keyboard and then you can get a duplicate. You can place this on whatever side you want to have it. If you want to have it at the top, you can, but the down is like the best practice. Okay. Ctrl J again. Then we have this on this other side. And then I think one more. Ctrl J. Okay. Now this is the next part of having this. Let's say you have your design ready, and if I turn off the guides with Control, okay, that's for Control semicolon, you can turn it off. So you see it's like one straight design and nothing really different. So to turn it back on, Control semicolon. Now this was the purpose of creating these guides, so that we can export each frame of this design. All we have to do is select the slice tool. So when you come to your crop tool, all you have to do is right click and select the slice tool. So you come up here and click slices from guides. Now you can see, let's go back to the move tool. Although if you try to zoom in, it still gets smaller. You can see that at the corner of each slice, it has marked it. So this is number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. So that tells Photoshop that when you are exporting this, slice it according to this dimension. So if we had a center guide here, it will still slice according to that guide. So you will now have the under as another set. So that's why we did not use horizontal guides. This is now where we finish the job. Exporting. Of course, make sure you save your file. All right, make sure you save your file. And then you go to File and click on Export. This time we'll go to Save for Web. So not just the normal export as PNG. So we'll go to Save for Web. And then it's going to load up your image. So it's looking like it's occupying the screen. All you have to do is reduce the scale. So you come to the zoom level rather. So reduce the zoom level. You see plus and minus. So we reduce it so that we can see our entire frame. Now, all you have to do is box, select the frames. So you click your mouse and you drag to select all the frames. So if you don't do this, you would export a frame with a different file type. What we want to do is export as PNG or JPEG, but the default file type is a GIF. So if there is anyone you leave out or you didn't select when you're trying to change the file type, that one you left out would export as a GIF. All right, so that's not what we want. That's why we have to select all, and then we come to preset and we set to JPEG high. And if you want something higher, you can also manipulate the other settings. So we can come here and say very high. Now it's going to set the quality from 60 to 80. Then that's all you have to do. Ignore every other thing here. And then you click on save. You select a folder. Okay, so I'm just going to create a folder in Okay, let's just say desktop, and then I'm going to click on this create new folder. Let's name the folder seamless carousel or whatever. Seamless carousel. And then open the folder and select save. So it's going to export each frame of the design as a separate image. Let's go to our folder and look for it. So it was in desktop, and we have seamless carousel. Okay, this is it. So it creates an images folder. Now, this is our design. Let me make this bigger. So you have the design as a single frame. So if you open this, you would see that it's a single frame design. Well, we didn't design them in different artboards, right? So this is just a basic layout. Of course, there are several things we can do to make this design way better, but the idea was to show you how to make a seamless carousel. So when you want to post something like this on Instagram, you make sure you don't change the order. So you can label it number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So you know the order in which you are posting. If you carry the last one and put as second, you won't get that flow. So make sure you don't change the order when posting. And that's it for today. So if you have any questions, you can drop it on the group chat. I'm going to attend to the questions on the group chat, not on YouTube. All right. So thank you for participating in today's class. If you've not been with us from season 1, you can go back to season 1 and follow up from there, so that by tomorrow you have a better understanding of what we've done, how far we've come, and where we're heading to. All right, so thank you so much for today. God bless you. Arigato. Gozaimasu.